Morning, everybody. We are here today to announce the indictments of 26 members of a Crips gang. It operated within prison walls and on the streets of Baltimore City and across Maryland. It was led by Correctional Sergeant Antoine Fordham. The gang is charged with smuggling contraband into prisons, distributing narcotics, and outside the prison walls and inside the prison walls, and using violence to further the interests of the gangs. This was a joint and long investigation. It was conducted by the U.S. DEA, and Assistant Special Agent in charge Don Hibbert is here. He'll be speaking in a moment. It was conducted with, in close connection with, the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, and Secretary Steve Moyer is here and we'll talk about their role in a couple of minutes. We also want to thank the Baltimore Police Department, the Baltimore Sheriff's Office, and the Anne Arundel County Police, the FBI, and the ATF. It was a very comprehensive investigation and large group that participated. Of the 26 people that we have indicted, 8 have been charged with conspiracy to participate in a criminal street gang and other offenses ranging from attempted first-degree murder to gang participation in drug distribution to conspiracy and misconduct in office. The remaining defendants are charged with a variety of crimes, including contraband delivery and actions that were critical to the financial operation of the gang. Among those charged with conspiracy to participate in a gang is Correctional Sergeant Antoine Fordham. He bragged how easy it was to carry out the Crips activity, and on top of that, how adept he was. When he said that he told another co-conspirator in a recorded call, "I'm going to tell you, cuz the route I'm going, they're going to have to build a statue out there with my face on it." In reference to a December 20th, 2016 shooting at Frankfurt Plaza, Fordham commented to Adrian Jones, another indicted gang co-conspirator, that Fordham wished he had known how much fun the shooting would be. James Carrington bragged in another recorded call, "I'm a member of a criminal street gang." He also specifically advised Fordham on how to exact retribution for the arrest of a fellow Crips member when Carrington told Fordham to catch one of those bitches sitting in the shop or sitting in their car with a light on, reading or doing some paperwork, straight down, walk straight down, give them everything they're asking for. Yet another indicted gang member, Tavon Dishman, bragged in a phone call, "I ain't going to sit here and lie, I'm a Crip." Gangs are a blight on any community in which they operate. Not only were they involved in a drug-related shooting on the streets of Baltimore, but they also imported violence, drugs, and other contraband into the prison system. And in the prison system, order is paramount to keeping inmates and staff safe. Chief among those responsible for importing the contraband are Antoine Fordham and Philip Jordan, who, in their role as correctional officers, were in positions of trust. Finally, I want to thank the members of my own criminal division, particularly those in the organized crime unit, and they spent countless hours, weekends, nights. Elizabeth Embry, Katie Dorian, Dennis Clark, Zachary Norfolk, thank you all very much. Now we'll hear from Secretary Moyer.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General, and thank you all for being here today. When the great people of the state of Maryland elected Governor Hogan to lead this state, he pledged to expose misconduct and corruption in the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services. With the governor's financial support through the Governor's Office of Crime Control and the help of law enforcement partners at the Attorney General's office and critical aid from the Drug Enforcement Administration, today we make another down payment on that pledge to expose corruption with these arrests and these charges. Let this action today, which was initiated by our department investigators, I'm proud of our team. We have great investigators. We have great leadership in our investigations division. But this is a loud and clear message to anyone in our department who engages in criminal behavior. We will fine you, we will arrest you, and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Since 2015, when Larry Hogan took office, we have partnered with the FBI, with the Attorney General's office and State's Attorney's office in bringing criminal charges against correctional officers. As you will learn, the corruption announced today is as bad as it gets. When a correctional officer partners with street gang, he is not only a threat to the institution and the brave men and women that work there every day, but a danger to the citizens of Baltimore. We believe our correctional officers have the most difficult job in public safety. They work behind the walls with great training, but with minimal equipment. Most of you know I was a police officer for 26 years. I worked on the streets as a state trooper in a city in Sarasota, but I had a gun and a radio every day. Our people work behind the fence with dangerous people every day. But we refuse to let corruption of a rogue employee tarnish the image of this department. I am very proud of the men and women who wear this badge in this department. We have just under 6,000 correctional officers and people who have dedicated 20, 30, 40 years of their life. We're not going to let bad people work on the inside and tarnish this badge. Thank you for being here today.
Now, Special Agent in Charge Don Hibbert, DEA.
Good morning. My name is Don Hibbert. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in Charge for the DEA Baltimore District Office. In December 2016, the DEA was approached by the Maryland Attorney General's Office to investigate drug-related criminal activity occurring both inside and outside the Maryland prison system. DEA collaborated with the Maryland Department of Public Safety Correctional Services and local law enforcement through the course of a 10-month investigation, uncovered the wide-ranging scope of criminal activity being conducted inside and outside state correctional facilities, being led by Antoine Fordham, a sergeant with DPSCS. The charges alleged in this indictment range from conspiracy to distribute dangerous substances to first-degree attempted murder. We in law enforcement perform our duties honorably and with dedication, are always shocked and extremely disappointed when a law enforcement officer violates the law by engaging in criminal activity. The DEA will always do our part to weed out those that stain our badges and our reputations. I would like to thank Secretary Moyer and his professional standard staff who worked closely with us on this sensitive investigation. I would also like to thank Maryland Attorney General Frosh and his staff who had the confidence in DEA agents to conduct this joint investigation. This investigation is a perfect example of what collaborative law enforcement can accomplish when we work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me recognize Major Walters and Major Tap Harper from the Baltimore City Sheriff's Office for being here. And I also want to thank the state's attorneys in Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, and Howard County for their assistance. Are there any questions?
Secretary Moyer, as you know, this has been a problem prior to you taking office of gang activity. How significant is this? You're not saying that this ends all gang activity in Maryland prisons. I got a quick follow-up.
No, thank you for the question. Great question. I think everybody knows how long corruption has existed within this department, and it's because we hire bad people. One of the first things that we did that the governor signed into law was that anybody who applies to be a correctional officer now has to pass a polygraph. Does that present a challenge for us in hiring people? Yes, it does. But when you talk to the leaders that are in this room with me, they want us to hire better people to reduce the amount of corruption that is within the department. This is just the beginning. I mean, my first day on the job, I was down at U.S. Attorney for Maryland, Rod Rosenstein then, and I got briefed on the case we were involved in over at ECI. We put these other teams together, partnered with the Attorney General, and we put the right investigators with unique backgrounds in drug investigations and wiretap experience to work together to go after the bad people that are here. And this is just the beginning. I mean, we had the case last fall, we have this case today, we have other cases that are coming, and we're not going to stop until we have pushed every lead that we have about corrupt officers still working for us.
And this particular case relates only to activity at Jessup Correctional and MCI Jessup, or were other prisons involved in this?
Mainly Jessup, but some activity in Baltimore. And I'm proud of the fact that our investigators had developed the initial information, and then we partnered with the DEA.
Yes.
Attorney General, how do gangs in prison affect crime outside of prison, especially in Baltimore?
Well, in this case, and I don't want to get beyond the indictment, but in this case, the indictment states that they were controlling drug sales and activities outside on the street.
Mr. Frosh, just to be clear, Fordham and the other gentleman, Jordan, they were both correctional officers. They had no relation to Crips and were developed as Crip members once they already served in a role of public safety?
I think all we can say is what's in the indictment. They were members of the Crips gang. It was contemporaneous with their tenure as correctional officers. I can't go beyond that at this point.
I just want to ensure that we don't have a problem with gangs infiltrating the ranks of correctional officers, coming in as gang members and gaining employment, do we?
I wouldn't rule that out, but it's not something that we can say definitively at this point.
Sir, were all those indicted, besides the guards, were they prisoners? Were some of them free, or is there a mixture of both, can you say?
There's a mixture. We did a series of arrests, and maybe, Don, you want to?
Yes. Could you repeat that question, please?
I'm wondering how many of those indicted were prisoners and how many were on the street?
Well, during the course of the investigation, obviously, we were dealing with Fordham, who was on the streets. He was basically running operations for the 8-Tray Crips up in the northeast section of Baltimore after work, and then going into work and basically providing direction to many of the inmates. So many of these folks that you see here, defendants you see here, were incarcerated, some were on the street, so it's a combination of both. But clearly, he was leading the organization both inside and outside of the prison system, and affecting and really, distributing drugs, bringing drugs into the prison system, particularly Suboxone, and also engaged in some violent criminal activity in terms of some shootings that we believe that he was involved in.
What role do the women play in this?
The ones that are facilitators.
Yes. They are, several of them are mothers of folks who were in prison, and they were, according to the indictments, they were providing contraband.
Just so we're clear, how many of those indicted are either correctional officers or correctional employees?
There are 2 correctional officers.
2 officers.
And that's Antoine Fordham and Philip Jordan.
And then are there civilian employees that were also involved?
I don't think we've indicted a civilian employee.
Okay.
The others were Crips members.
Crips members or
Yeah,
relatives?
or relatives.
If I can add.
Also,
Yeah,
Mr. Frosh,
sure.
I'd like to add one thing. Don't forget, these criminal enterprises are engaging with correctional officers because of the amount of profit that's made on the outside. If you go back and look at the BGF case and the ECI case, there's similar things that are going on here. And even Assistant Attorney General Rod Rosenstein has said the way Maryland is approaching the corruption within the system is the right way to do it, and has actually gone to other states and said, this is the way you put together collaborative teams to go after corruption. But don't want to talk too much about it now, but when you see the dollars behind this operation monthly, it's pretty significant.
Can you give us an estimate as to how much that is roughly in Baltimore?
Not right now. So.
You know, with BGF, in central booking, we saw excessive sort of flagrant things like sexual favors. We saw caviar and things being bottles of high-priced liquors and things like that. Was there anything that obvious going on around this one, any of those excesses, or were they more secretive about everything and how it flowed?
We saw, like I said, a lot of drug activity going in, drugs coming into the system, prison system being smuggled in, and money going out. So we didn't see anything in terms of the scope of our investigation didn't uncover anything in regards to sexual favors or anything like that. But we saw some serious crimes being committed by these individuals.
Other than drugs, what was the other contraband? What did it consist of?
Cigarettes,
Cell phones?
cell phones.
How long had Fordham been a correctional officer?
I believe he was hired in 2006, but we can verify that.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Real quick, how are the gangs, I know you mentioned that there was the stabbing in prison from this. How are the gangs in prison affecting assaults on inmates or staff?
Well, they were. I don't think we charge anybody with an attack on staff in these indictments. But there was an attempted murder that was directed by the gang that occurred outside the prison walls.
And Antoine Fordham was the alleged triggerman in that he allegedly committed that attempted murder.
That's not precisely the way the indictment characterizes it. We'll have to leave that one for a later date. All right, thank you very much.